welcome to Foster Friday Live. We are so glad that you are joining us. I am here. I'm so excited. We are talking about what can be the foster parent's best friend, Guardian Ad Litems, and we are just so blessed to have you here with us. So as you all join us, if you will just say hey, leave a comment or a question for us, but we are talking all about Guardian. So will you introduce yourself to our team and let us know a little bit about your role?
Absolutely. So my name is Sherry Walker. I am the Director of County Operations for the Guardian Ad Litem program. And so in that role, I support our volunteers and our staff members. I help with training and just do everything I can to help get good outcomes for children.
Yeah, so now you may be a foster parent that's watching, a prospective foster parent, maybe just a friend or community member. So we all have a varying, interactions with foster care. And tell us a little bit about what is a Guardian Ad Litem? What is the role of a guardian, and why do we need them? Why do they exist?
Great. So a Guardian Ad Litem is appointed by a judge to advocate for children in the foster care system. And the reason that we need Guardians Ad Litem is because the children aren't there in the courtroom when these decisions get made. Everybody sees this on TV and thinks the child goes up and talks to the judge. That's not how it works in the real world.
Right.
So children are very rarely in the courtroom when these decisions are made. And the reason for that is because it would be so traumatic for them.
Right.
So they need an adult who's devoted just to them to be in that courtroom when those decisions are made. So we want the judge to know things like, does the child want to go home or not go home, or do they want to see their siblings? Anything like that is something that needs to be communicated to the judge by a person who's unbiased and whose only interest is in that child.
Right. So a neutral third party, which is why guardians can't be foster parents and foster parents can't be guardians. It really is a neutral third party, the voice of the child.
That's right. They have to be independent and do an unbiased investigation and look into things from the child's perspective.
Okay, so what role do they play in a foster care case? And we talked a little bit how that might be different from a private case, where guardians play a very different role.
That's exactly right. So our guardians, of course, don't do private work. So we only work with cases that are involved with the Department of Social Services. And so most of our cases are foster care, but some are not. Some might be placed with relatives, things like that. But the role of the volunteer in terms of the foster parent is to, first of all, visit that child. And we like to see them in the home whenever possible. So we are really meeting the child, but also that family, seeing what kind of environment they live in, and then just looking for information from the foster parent to tell us, 24/7 what's happening with that child. Because we might visit them for an hour a month, but there's a whole bunch of other things going on, and we just love to hear that information firsthand from foster parents to help us make those recommendations and assessments for the court.
So this is the voice of the child. They're gathering all this information as a volunteer, as an unpaid volunteer, correct?
Correct.
So, they're gathering all this information, they're presenting it in court to the judge. How might they impact what happens in court, the decisions that are made?
So it can be huge, the perspective of the volunteer. So we're very well respected by the court system because we don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. We don't have children. We're not trying to meet standards of all the children go home or none of the children go home. Nothing like that drives our program. So it's so great to have that independent voice in there. And so when a guardian makes a recommendation that might be different than everybody else in the case, that it can be listened to and it can really change the outcome. And I've seen this happen over and over again, both in my cases as well as, watching volunteers. Just a couple of weeks ago, I saw a case myself where the volunteers strongly advocated for children to go home to their mother, and they weren't in agreement with anybody else in the courtroom. But in the end, that's a decision that was made because she laid the facts out. She had done all the background work, and it was just so joyous to see that reunification. It was fantastic.
I mean, we all want happy endings. We all want the best possible outcomes, and so to be able to really be heard and advocate for what you believe is right and true, and this happy ending of this family being restored. That's awesome. Well, and so we were chatting a little bit about, this is an unpaid volunteer position. One of the questions that foster parents have so often, and you mentioned that these people are appointed by a judge. If you are in a disagreement, that doesn't constitute getting a new guardian. But let's say that a foster parent does have a concern over the work of their appointed guardian ad litem, or if you are in Richland County, Richland County uses the CASA program, which is the federal program. It's very similar roles, would you say?
Yes, we serve under the same laws and statutes of South Carolina and use the same training program that National CASA recommends. They're just funded separately as a county organization.
Okay. So if you disagree, or if you are concerned about the work of your guardian, your advocate, whatever it is in your county, what can you do? What should you do? Or what constitutes doing anything?
We always want to hear from our foster parents, absolutely. So if you believe that a volunteer is not doing what they should do, or you disagree with them, whatever it is, you should always speak with their supervisor, which would be the county coordinator in whatever county you're in. And those numbers are all listed on our website. And then the next level up from that would be to speak with a regional supervisor. And we want to hear this. We absolutely want to hear from foster parents about this. So anytime that you have this situation, please call us or email us. My number is on the website and my email address. We really will respond to your concerns.
Yeah. And not to say that, they're like anyone, there's people that you're really going to feel like are excelling and people like you feel maybe aren't doing the type of job you would like them to do. But I wanted to share, and I was telling you a little bit about how wonderful guardians are and what a difference they can make, not just in the children that they're serving or the family, but I mean, as a foster parent, just feeling so, what a gift these guardians are to us. And I was saying, we had a guardian who made a trip to Egypt and brought back gifts for our kids, even the kids that were in our home she was not their guardian, but how meaningful that was that she saw a special opportunity to love on and respect and celebrate all of these children that were in our home. And it was just so sweet. So, and Lisa says the guardians that I've had in my cases have always been fantastic. I love to hear that, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so, what is the need? We're talking about these wonderful guardians. What is the need? Is there a need for more people to step up into this volunteer role as a guardian? Maybe people who have considered foster care but aren't ready to foster or can't bring children into their home. What does that need look like in the upstate or in South Carolina in general?
Well, there's a huge need, particularly in the upstate. Greenville, Spartanburg, and Anderson have huge needs for volunteers right now. Our caseloads have increased so much. We're looking at most upstate counties need at least 50 more.
50 more in a county?
In one county, each county.
Wow.
Yeah. And all of the upstate counties really need, at least some volunteers, but it's really critical. The more volunteers we have, then the fewer cases, they can spend more time with the children. And that's what that's what we really love doing, is being with these kids and seeing them and getting to spend time with them. I love, when I was a volunteer, I love those age of kids where they were learning to read. And I would always stop at the library and get some new books and read with them. And I just found that to be so special. But,
yeah. So if someone was interested in learning more, we need them all over the state. What do they do? How can they learn more?
Absolutely. Our website is probably the best place for them to start, and that's gal.sc.gov, gal.sc.gov.
And we have that listed in our description of the video here, yeah.
And there's also an 800 number, 277-0113 is our state office. And they can call that and get connected. But the best way is to go to the website and find the county that you live in and that you want to volunteer in and speak directly to someone from that county. And then they can give you more information about when the training is and just, get you set up.
So who is it that makes a good guardian or that even qualifies to be a guardian ad litem?
Right, there's some very basic requirements. You have to be 21 years old. You have to be a resident of South Carolina, and then you have to pass, of course, our reference and background checks and all that, and then complete the training. But really, there's no, people think you have to be a social worker or something like that. There's no background like that required. We're really looking for just everyday citizens who care about kids. Everybody that cares about kids can do this work and become a part of a child's life.
So how much time maybe would you need to have to dedicate to do this work well?
Right, to start with, the training is 30 hours. So, and we split that up, so you do 15 hours of training online and then 15 hours of it in person, 5 3-hour classes, so it takes 5 weeks. And then we find our guardians average per case about 4 to 6 hours per month.
Okay.
And when you start a case, it might be more than that because you're getting to
the
know
initial
everybody.
investigation.
Right. But then after that, you're just visiting the child once a month. So that might only be an hour or 2 a month. And that's something, as a volunteer, you schedule that with the foster parent. So you work that out at both of your convenience. So the only really thing you're tied to is the court date. So you have to come to court as a volunteer because that's the whole point, to speak for that child.
Yeah.
And so you do have to commit that you will come to court on these cases. Now, once they come to court the first time, they might not come back again for 6 to 9 months. So it's not a constant going to court, but you do, if you're a working person, you do need to have some flexibility in your schedule for that.
Yeah. So talk to us about why this is meaningful to you. What keeps you motivated to do this work? Because it's hard work.
It's hard work.
It's meaningful, but it can be challenging. So what is it that makes this meaningful for you?
For me personally, you know, having first of all seen cases where I saw the impact I made on the children, where they've come back to me after they were adults and thanked me and said, wow, you really changed things in my life. And, you know, I had one child, you know, refer to me as their hero one time, and that just like brought tears to my eyes. It was, you know, I don't think of myself that way, but sometimes children who, you know, have had so much instability in their lives, when you commit to just, I'm going to come visit you every month, and then you do that, you keep that promise, you're restoring something that may have been broken for them.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the impact is a little thing like that. It's just, wow, my guardian said they would do this, and they did this. And they didn't have that in their lives before.
Yeah.
So the changes we make are profound.
So, and that makes me think this isn't just someone who's going and talking in court. They're not just gathering hard evidence.
Right.
This is a mentor, a friend, and, you know, so much more than that, because really it's about the child.
It is. That connection to me is so much more important. And I had a case one time with a little girl where I went to visit her in her home like we do, and could tell she was a little bit sad. And I said, you know, asked her what was wrong, and she said, well, you know, I've just come into a new foster home. I don't know anybody. She says, we have this recital at a new church next week, and no one's going to be there for me. And I said, well, you know, I'll come see your recital. So I went there that next week, and I was sitting in the back of the church, and she came in the front door and she saw me, and she comes running up to me and she hugs me and she says, now I have someone here just for me.
Oh.
And it was just, you know, it's that kind of impact that really keeps our volunteers doing this work just year after year.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, and thank you for being here with us today. Crystal says we love our GALs. Yes, we do. They're just awesome. I mean, you just fall in love with them. So thank you for sharing that, Crystal. And thank you, all of you, for joining us on Foster Friday Live. We will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.